This is Governor Bobber. I like good day, doctors.
George Allen here. Good day, doctors.
Good Friday evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Dr. Boston's Political Logic Show. We are here. It is March 3rd, almost springtime. We're about to spring forward. Life is going to be good again when we get when we can go out and warm enough and run outside without having to be on a stupid treadmill for over an hour. Get to 4 miles,
All right. So this is a debate here, though. This is like, is a time change? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Or, we're used to kind of springing forward and falling back, but there is a growing movement for just abolishing the whole thing.
I'd rather we keep daylight savings time if we were to just keep one, not standard time, frankly. Just make daylight savings time standard time.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I actually prefer the change of it because as much as, we don't need the original reason that they created daylight saving time, I still think that, if we didn't have it, then, by the time people actually get up and do stuff, it would still be way dark for most of the year. So I don't know. I think that, it's not perfect. There's never going to be a perfect solution because winter is just going to be more darkness than sunlight. But I don't know. I've seen, people talk about if we had it just straight through, and there are places that do have it. I think, Arizona only has one, daylight time. But it's, from what I've seen, people that get out in the morning, it's affect them more. So students, kids, having to go to the bus and the dark of night, so to speak. I don't know. I think it's imperfect, but better than the alternative.
Yeah, it's like there was actually a Green Lantern punk run called Darkest Night when they had basically they actually had every color, I think, of the rainbow power rings, and the black ring was a fear. I think it was fear or something like that, and blue was hope, white was something else, But
this is the Green Lantern, not Power Rangers.
No, Green Lantern. Green Lantern had
the same thing,
yeah.
Jeff.
I tell you, it's like what the fun is. They all kind of merged together. If you think about it, what is Power Rangers? Power Rangers is a cheap ripoff of
Mega Man.
Voltron, actually. If you think about, and if you think about Voltron, is a cheap ripoff of Jet Jaguar from Godzilla versus Megalon, who's supposed to be like Ultraman, and so everything goes back to Ultraman. Actually, it really goes back to Johnny Sacco and his giant robot. That's really where it goes back to. Because I think that may have been the original giant. What's that?
It's got blame Japanese for the giant robot invasion, which then spurred the giant.
That probably was the original giant robot.
Yeah, I was just going to say for this, since I brought this topic up too about the whole change. So I've got a son who lives in Arizona, so it's like this always is like I have to remember what time it is there for them. I mean, am I on a 2 hour? Or am I on a 3 hour? It's like, but my biggest
it's mountain time, so it's not ever. Because the Pacific is always 3 hours, but Mountain can be that it's fun if you're in Arizona or not.
But the summer months, Arizona becomes 3 hours goes into Pacific time, so to speak, because they don't do the spring forward.
Yeah, I can almost kind of give up with that thing. But I much prefer to ever see this. I recall when, until 10, 15, 20 years ago, whatever it was, you could, maybe it's like too much. You could really set your clock by the time change in the sense that it was basically the first Sunday in April or something like that, and the first Sunday in October or whatever. Now it's variable. Congress they tinkered with it, and it changes a little bit.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Now I have to look up and like, when are we doing this change?
Remember our phones and computers would automatically reset until then Congress. Actually, though, I do like the fact that we don't change the clocks back until we don't fall back until late October. I think we should move it to November, like do it like the week after election, the Sunday after election day is when we fall back.
Maybe the darkest night.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, there is a let me see if I can find it for you guys. But
There's something to be said too. I mean, if you guys have heard about the circadian rhythm, I'm not sure how much weight you put into that, but supposedly, your body tends to react to the light around you. And I know, obviously, there's like vitamin D if you got in the sunlight, that's helpful for that. But as far as like getting a restful sleep and being able to feel rested, there's some science that says that having daylight early in the day helps you start the day off. So that's why I think it's better for kids, especially, to have as much daylight.
Sorry, my bad. It's blackest night, not darkest night.
The blackest light.
Yes, darkest
Black
night is it's black. It's basically blackest night. And they also have the brightest day too, or something like that. Green Lantern, and that was where the white Lantern Corps came into existence.
Okay.
But yeah, they've got everything.
Have you ever dozed off in the afternoon in the winter, for a little bit, and then you wake up and it's pitch black, and you're like,
many a times.
I thought, oh whoa, it's like I got to do something. I'm like, it's the next day.
7 p.m. and it's like you think it's midnight.
Yeah.
I tell you, I knew. Actually, it's probably happened to me where it would probably be like December or January. I fall asleep, right, and I wake up. It's dark outside, so I think it's next morning. Then you wake up and go, "Oh, it's only 7 o'clock, only 5 o'clock." But
yeah,
we're almost at St. Patrick's Day.
That's another reason I think that people in the north like moving down south, because the farther to the equator you are, the less of a difference it is. There's still some, but the northern states tend to experience it more extreme.
Yeah. Like in Florida, I mean, it does stay brighter later. Like when I do the show from when I'm down there, I like to go out to the water and do the show there because you can, see but in the fall I still can't do that because it does still get dark early in the fall. So the fall I have to find a secondary location to do it from. Yeah.
But, we've been going to Michigan. It's a lot more significant there. Still, in the Lower Peninsula even. So it's like I said, I think the whole state suffers from seasonal affective disorder in the winter because it's not the best state to visit, unless you like snow, and then just go to the Upper Peninsula.
That does explain Jennifer Granholm, though. That does explain a lot about Jennifer Granholm. Yeah, but I don't know what the obsession people had with that Murdoch murder trial. It was like almost an open and shut case, frankly. The guy did it. I don't know. I was just a little irritated by the gavel-to-gavel coverage of this thing. It's like OJ2,
Well, that's the way the media has been for decades now. It's just
I know. I remember
a lot of sensationalism, and the guy looks guilty as sin, and he admitted that he had lied about his where he was, location, that he actually had been on the location of the murder scene and everything like that. Yeah, you can deny all you want, but it looks like he's guilty, and he's going to pay the price for that.
What's funny is it's almost the more guilty and heinous your crimes are, the more likely they're going to make a mini series out of you.
Yeah.
Well, you know who the original.
There's a book deal and a mini series and a whole bunch of other things out there. There'll be a
original
show or something like that, right there, for documentary on it. I'm sure.
I mean, look at Klaus von Bülow. How many books have been written about that? I mean, that was the first trial. They were showing gavel-to-gavel coverage, Back then, they didn't have court TV and stuff like that to show. But every morning, for like a whole segment or two, they'd be analyzing Klaus von Bülow. I don't know if his wife died or, well, obviously she's probably dead, but I think she disappeared and they couldn't produce a body or something like that. But it's, and then he got off. I think they appealed and he did get off on that charge. He did beat that rap.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the first one I remember. Was it Lorena Bobbitt or I'm trying to remember what it was. It was
Uh,
the child that went missing. Um,
Jennifer, the Betty and Ramsey, or the John
that's
Benet
it. Yeah,
Ramsey.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm bad with names,
Betty and
obviously.
Ramsey's our classmate of ours. John Benet, yes.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
then you had the mother of all trial, gavel to gavel coverage was, I want to say, O.J. Simpson. That was the big one, and the other
Yeah,
one
that was the
was
biggest one.
I don't know. I want to say the Rodney King trial was also pretty big, but that was also before court
Do you
TV.
like it
Court TV.
when it gets late earlier? That sounds like an oxymoron.
Yeah.
I know what he's talking about though.
You know,
Like when it
when it
starts
gets
getting
darker
dark
earlier.
around,
Yeah.
well, I mean, when it starts getting dark around 4 p.m., it is kind of getting late early.
It feels
I mean,
later.
it's like remember when we were in school, Jeff. Like when we were in high school, you stayed after, and you take the activity bus home, or if you drive home, right
No,
at
it was
four
dark. Was called
o'clock.
the short bus.
But there you go. Well, the Magnets had their own bus, though.
Yeah,
We
I
didn't
know.
have
No, no, that's
we
why I
had our
was
own buses.
joking about being the short bus because there weren't only magnet students on the bus going home.
I mean, actually,
What's
ride-ons used to
what's
be.
more dangerous, driving in the morning when it's really dark, or driving in the evening, when it's really dark with these time changes?
I think it's the
Uh,
evening is
I
probably
think
more
morning.
dangerous. Really, you think morning?
The decision.
See,
Well,
I think
me,
it's evening.
that's like pre-coffee or post-coffee, I guess.
No, but I'm thinking like in the evenings, you might have more odds of having inebriated drivers. You know,
Well,
in the
That just depends
evenings,
what time it is. If it's like 5 or something, people are obviously exhausted from work and anxious to get home. But I kind of figure
although
it's the same thing with the mornings. When people have morning days and they're just kind of like not really started their day yet.
I mean, that's
So
another
it
thing. In
seems
the
like
morning, you do have drowsy drivers. Drowsy driving is a thing. I think New
Well, yeah,
Jersey
I'm
actually
saying
has.
usually with like almost a national thing where people are like sleep deprived. So I
Yeah,
think that obviously it affects you all day, but I think in the morning especially people just don't
mhm.
function very well.
And the not. I mean, we're not a medical pro, nor are we giving medical advice, but lack of sleep also leads to heart disease, diabetes, a bunch of other stuff, hypertension, all those things. I mean, growing up, I don't think people realized how
Or you can say
important
something about
sleep.
voting Democratic or voting
What's that?
Democrat. You can say
I
something
mean,
about voting
that could be it too.
Democrat,
That could be it too.
stress and
Yeah,
early heart failure and
yeah. And I can't. It's like there used to,
yeah.
not even. I used to be sleep deprived. I used to get by on 4 hours of sleep, but that was many years ago, and I realized I can't do that anymore. Now I need a full 7 to 8 hours.
Yeah, I shoot for 6 to 7, but I used to get by in about 5.
When I was working for you, I was getting by on 4. I know. It's like
Do you use
because I
I know you've got an Apple Watch. Do you use any kind of sleep aids on your watch
actually
to track sleep?
yes, I haven't used it in a while, but I do have one, and the Echo is back. By the way, Jeff.
Oh, I'm not sure why.
I use what's that? I use an app called Pillow,
Okay.
and I haven't used it in a while, but it was pretty good. I thought. What would always be funny is, although Dr. Mike Warshawski will tell you that those sleep apps are not nearly as accurate, so to speak, because he was saying like, many times you'll go to bed, you'll wake up, you'll have a great night of sleep, but they'll say you were not sleeping as well as you thought you were, and stuff like that.
Well, I was gonna say mine's pretty accurate. I mean, I use I'm trying to remember what the name of the app is. As I was looking at my phone, but I use
Apple
a sleep
Health.
app. No, it's not Apple Health. It does track it there, but
Mm-hmm.
let's see. It's
Let me know what it's. I'll give
Sleepwatch.
that a try.
Yeah, so Sleepwatch is. I use that. And it tracks like your blood pressure, your heart
Yeah.
rate.
Mm-hmm.
The night. It's actually been very good about tracking when I fall asleep and when I wake up. So
Okay.
actually, I was surprised because I kind of thought like you. It's like how does it know? I mean, does it measure like my
Yeah.
like wrist movements or what? But
Yeah.
whatever it does, it's pretty accurate.
Mm-hmm. And I tell you this about sleep, like And I'm probably, they say it's a sign of sleep deprivation. Like, I fall asleep about 5 to 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes, like 5 minutes. My head hits the pillow, I'm out. And they say that's actually a sign of sleep deprivation, but I'm getting like a decent amount of sleep. So, although the last couple of days I was
Well, the
very,
question
very,
is,
very
is
sleepy.
that, do you experience that like while you're watching a Biden press conference, or is it
Yeah, that too. Yeah, Biden press conferences, the State of the Union. I remember when what do you call it, when Bill Clinton was president, and you'd always see these members of Congress sleeping. That you see them falling asleep. I remember there was this one where they're panning over the justices, and you have what's the guy? Stephen Breyer was asleep in the chairs right there, and his mouth is hanging open too, which I thought was like hilarious. Yeah. But yeah, I think it was Stephen
so that's where you
Breyer.
didn't have like
Yes.
the gap banging it, let's wake everyone up like.
Yeah, I tell you, and now it's like now they're like they're almost they're very State of the Unions have been very entertaining actually. But it's been and by the way,
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try that app. I downloaded that app. I'm gonna have to try
what's it
that.
called again? What's it called again,
Sleep
Jeff?
Watch.
Sleepwatch.
Sleepwatch.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
try. I'm gonna try that. I mean, I just been using the Apple Watch to track it. Mainly just to
Yeah, it
see.
does well. I mean, it
And I
asks
think
you, if there's like something that's unusually about your sleep, like you did either, got more rested or less rested. It asks like, what was different and stuff, and
you know,
it's good. Like I said, I've been using it for I don't know over a year now, and it's been very good at tracking, um, like my heart rate and those kind of things. And it doesn't really like recommend anything per se. It's kind of like how well do you sleep, and if you're getting enough sleep, basically.
and I assume they're doing what a lot of apps do is that they're gathering that data for anonymization for marketing purposes to
Hmm.
somebody else or
I've
whatever.
never gotten any ads or anything from it. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
it's possible.
we don't necessarily get ads. I mean, but there's, I've got an app I use called Evidation to give points,
Mhm.
for exercising, and eventually, after you accumulate like 10,000 points, you get $10 back in cash for every.
Oh,
It takes a while. It takes, but it'll give you points for doing all kinds of different things, even doing surveys. So it's like, yeah, it's a few minutes of my time a day to do that, and the rest is all tracked through the Apple Watch. It's like I don't, I have to do very little, so I might as maybe it takes me 2 months or 3 months to earn $10, but it's $10 I wouldn't earn otherwise. But and so I know what they're doing is that they're not sending me any ads or anything like that. They're just by doing all this stuff, they just can anonymize all that data and then sell it off to other people to say this is what people are doing, exercising and whatever, and things like that. So
Yeah, I
uh,
just downloaded and started using Gas Buddy,
hmm.
and it's they have a program where if you become a member, which costs like $8 a month, like your first 50 gallons are 20 cents off, and then every gallon after that is like 5 cents off. And there are a couple of restrictions about like where you can get gas, but generally speaking, it's um, it's pretty generous. So I don't know. I'm still waiting for my card to come in, but I don't mind participating in things that do gather information like that obviously have some immediate benefit. Um,
yeah, I
I
mean,
almost
look,
wish
I've been
it would,
part of Gas Buddy for I
my
don't even
time.
know how many years now, but that outfit has grown to where now it gets quoted in the press as a reliable tracker
Yep.
of gas prices nationwide. You know, it's
Opposed to AAA gas prices.
well, a
That's
lot
the
of
thing.
people do that, but
There's value in that. So why not pass the value back to the customer or consumer who's providing that data? I
yeah.
mean, that makes sense to me. So I'm just glad that some companies actually think of that and do it because it
Well,
encourages
look,
people to
Well,
participate.
I mean, with Gas Buddy too. I mean, I've been a big fan of them for years. Is that that's how we check prices. It's like okay, in the area, where's the cheapest price, and is it worth going there? Just how
Right.
much are we saved to go there, and kind of have to do the whole thing there. But when I check it for where I live around here, it's always higher than other areas, and I mean, there are other programs you can, you join the Shell program or the BP program or the Marathon, and you'll
Yeah.
get 5 cents off a gallon and maybe some other earning opportunities. People who use the grocery stores, they earn points. and stuff like that. You know, I never go to Giant or Safeway. I'm always at Costco, Sam's, and Asian grocery stores, or Lidl and all.
Maybe Costco should do a gas program too.
But yeah, I'm with you. Most of my shopping is at Sam's Club. The gas is already cheap enough that I don't worry about having to rebate it further.
Right.
By the way, you know what's funny? Our friend Rich Collins will appreciate this. Carroll County is the cheapest place you can buy gas in the state of Maryland at $3.10 a gallon. And the most expensive place in Maryland to buy gas is Garrett County, according to AAA gas prices.
Well, I'm not going to drive 90 minutes to get, safe.
Oh, yeah. But you know something? Charles County, the average price of gas down there is $3.11 a gallon. Over in Charles County.
I mean,
and by the way,
I was going to say, my son has been visiting. He came into town for a work thing and hanging around for a few extra days. But while he was here, they said, why don't you go up to Harrisburg, to HQ, and we're having a monthly meeting. You can meet some other people. So he drove up to Harrisburg, and we had this discussion about, he's borrowing one of our cars. And I was like, well, you won't have enough gas to do the round trip. There's not enough gas in there. And it's like, so why don't you have enough to get up to Harrisburg and most of the way back, but stop at Frederick Costco and then gas up there on the way home. Well, and he checked the prices up in Central PA while he was up there. Yeah. $3.75, he said.
Yep.
I think gas
is expensive.
Costco in Frederick.
I mean, did he go up to up Route 15? There is one gas station. It used to be a Gulf 76 station. And Union 76, yeah. The logo is very similar to. Anyways,
it is very similar, yeah.
And, I was going to say, do you guys remember AAA trip ticks that you used to get if you planning a trip out?
I remember actually doing the little booklet, right?
Yeah. Remember those tour books, AAA?
I got an idea that I'm kind of fleshing out a little bit here. So, think about making an Apple app, or so I know that better than Android, but basically an app that if you're doing a trip, you tell it when you want to depart and then what time you want to get there, and it will help you find things like rest areas and gas stations, and along the way that your preferences, so that it knows how far off the your way is this gas station in terms of time and mileage and cost, and what makes the most sense. So instead of having to wait till you're almost empty, it'll say at a half a tank, pull off here, get gas, because it'll help you save money and save time. So it kind of plans that into your trip.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of thing could be helpful to some people. I mean, I will say that when my wife and I first started driving to Indiana to go visit my daughter and the grandkids, it was really hit or miss. We didn't know that we knew the route we were taking, but we didn't know any of the gas stations or anything along the way. We do, except for when my wife needed a pit stop or something like that. We basically would drive straight through, right? We would try to make a few stops, and it's that and the fuel stops. But then it was where do we go? Where do we do? It got to the point where after we had several trips back and forth, she kind of figured out. She's like, okay, using Gas Buddy, and then everything else and the knowledge of the route, we then said, okay, this is where we're going to stop at Costco first in Frederick, and that we'll have a full tank from there, and that'll take us to this station at this point, and then we'll refuel there, and that'll take us to this point, and that'll be probably one of our last ones, to minimize the fuel stops, but try to also maximize the savings without having to drive 4 miles off the freeway or 5 miles and then come back. So trying to keep it as close to the freeway as possible as well, kind of just meshing all that together.
On my drives to Florida, I find Love's and what's the other one? Flying J. Those are the two better places.
Love's Flying J and Pilot, the typical truck stuff.
Yeah, Pilot. Actually, have Flying J.
Flying J. They're the same company now, I think.
And you get it's a good one-stop shop for both of them. Love's usually has a Subway, a Taco Bell, a Sbarro's, Flying J.
Sometimes the states will have different prices, so it's does it make sense to wait till you cross the state? And exactly. I'm always questioning what is the best place to go, because sometimes gas prices vary too. So it's
I stop off for gas when I'm driving. I'll fill up before I leave, and I'll fill up right before we hit North Carolina down that place where we had pizza down in past Richmond. I want to say, what is it? I forget the name of that town. It may have been Roanoke Rapids or something like that. But that's where we'd stop off. And then I'd go all the way to, there's a Love's on 95 in North Carolina that I'd go to. Then, when I get to South Carolina, I make a point to go to the Buc-ee's right before the Georgia line.
Okay, so there it is. That's what I wanted to know. It's like Buc-ee's. There's something that has to go on my bucket list because I don't go anywhere where there's a Buc-ee's yet. It's like, but that is quite the destination. My son was saying that he had a couple of his co-workers. They were down in Texas. They're visiting Texas, and they took an Uber to Buc-ee's. Okay. And then they went.
Buc-ee's is a destination.
They bought a whole bunch of stuff, and they called for an Uber to take him back to the hotel. It was the same Uber driver.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
And she says
Buc-ee's is like a really.
It was they felt a little embarrassed that the same person picked them up that dropped them off because they were loaded down with all this Buc-ee's stuff.
Did they get the Buc-ee's mascot?
I don't know. I mean, it's just it's like the most amazing place. Everybody loves that place.
Yeah. There's a Buc-ee's in South Carolina right before you get to Georgia. There's one there. There's also one in Daytona, Florida. I do stop at that one as well.
Well, maybe if Spencer and I get to Fort Sumter or something like that, we can find our way through and find a Buc-ee's on our way to Fort Sumter.
It's right off of 95. Actually, you've actually hit it before you get Fort Sumter is in Charleston, right? That's Charleston.
It's somewhere there.
Yeah, there is.
It up in like
there's a Buc-ee's right. Yeah, there's a Buc-ee's right off of 95. There, it's not that. I heard rumors they're going to put a Buc-ee's in somewhere in Virginia, off the Horseshoe Bypass in Richmond. You only drive 2 hours to get to that one, Don.
Yeah, look, I have my limits. I'm getting old and cranky, and I'm not going. It needs to be on my way.
That's true. And actually, depending on the other place, they've got. I think they've got the largest Buc-ee's in the country is in Tennessee. I don't want to say it's like near Knoxville.
Well,
but anyways,
I'll look it up.
Yeah, Robin's at CPAC, by the way, everyone.
Buc-ee.
Is that where it is? Dollywood?
Oh, I'm just yes.
So Robin's at CPAC, and
okay, here we go. I decided to look it up, and the Buc-ee's website says the new Braunfels store is their largest one in the world at 66,335 square feet.
What is is that the Tennessee or
that's New Braunfels? I think is Texas.
So they built a bigger one because it used to be Tennessee.
It's like the Mall of America. It's just like a gas station.
They also have the world's longest car wash at 220 feet of conveyor. Yeah. Oh my gosh!
I think that puts what do you call flagship car wash to shame.
Oh man, yeah. There's something about the people behind Buc-ee's. You got to give them credit for that. You're mentioning because Robin says he's at CPAC. I'm glad he's enjoying it. I think I'm over CPAC. I haven't been for years, but when they started going on the road and doing all that stuff, and they took it around, which I actually thought was a good idea on their part.
Yeah,
bring CPAC to other places. Not a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
But they're under a little bit of a cloud there with all these allegations against Matt Schlapp and some of the other things, and I don't know. I don't know. I think there's always going to be some faithful who'll go, but I don't know if there's the same cachet for CPAC as it used to be.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, one thing, as you know, I worked for CPAC for about a little more than 2 years, and back then a sponsorship was $2,000, and they were doing it at the Crystal Gateway Marriott or the Omni Shoreham or the Hinckley Hilton were the three locations, they'd move them around at. But then, and it just kind of blown up in the last few years, and it's got...
this, Dwight, because you were part of that, but they struggled for years. I think when Lisa De Pasquale was like the executive director, she used to tell us in the sponsor meetings that They were always trying to figure out, they wanted to be able to grow the conference, uh,
Yeah.
but there were limitations as to where they could go in DC, right?
Yep.
They even did the Reagan building, right, the Trade Center
Yeah, that
downtown.
was yeah. And then
That
I
was
think after that,
that was interesting, but because it's office space as well within there, and there's some security and things like that. It wasn't as good. It was great to have CPAC at the Reagan building. I mean, what better thing than that? But it wasn't really the optimal situation. Plus, there's no hotel rooms in there. You'd have to surround. You get a hotel room somewhere else, and so that created hospitality suites were over here, over there, whatever. Um, but the thing grew. I mean, going to the Gaylord was probably
yeah,
a good thing for them because
yeah.
they could accommodate so many more people
Hmm.
in that. But it
And
it
by the way,
didn't.
the Gaylord,
But you're
yeah,
talking about the cost. It used to be at least somewhat affordable, but when they
yeah.
started going to 5,000, 10,000, whatever, they started
Oh,
charging.
sponsorships are I think over 5,000 now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Washington Post reported that some of the most expensive packages were going for 30,000 and up, and it's like,
Yep.
who's paying for this? You know?
I mean, I went there about a couple years. 2019, I actually with friends that were in town. John and Sata from Arizona. They were down, and we did the whole CPAC experience, so to speak. It's so much nicer to do the CPAC experience when you're not working for CPAC. It's so much more fun because there's nobody telling you to do this and do that. It's like, oh, this is broken, the network's down, and stuff like that. That was one of the things I'll take credit for is because if you remember the early days of CPAC, they used those big reams of registration that you'd have to go through and find the people. When I was there, that was the first year we did electronic registration, and I'll take credit for that one, which makes it so much easier. But
Yeah, they improved a lot of the processes over the
yeah,
years as technology advanced and things like that. I just wonder if CPAC, the ACU, just didn't start chasing the money so much that they kind of lost their footing a little bit in terms of, you
well,
know,
I mean that happens with every org. I mean, look at MRC. MRC used to do those big gala dinners, which I've gone to twice, and they've absolutely harass you to go to the following. I mean, you just come back from the gala, they start trying to sell you on tickets for next year, and those were like $250 a head. Those tickets for that gala dinner they did, you know. And then what kind of irritated me was last time I paid for a table. Our table was in a really crappy location, and then I find out later that they let a whole bunch of people in for free, and they were like sitting up closer to the stage, to make it look more full. And I'm thinking, like, I paid this. I paid to be here. I'm not like, one of these people these volunteers that you called at the last minute and say, hey, we got a free ticket for you, to get them to show up. Although they are doing more over there at MRC on being a media watchdog than our friends at AMAR.
yeah, well, yeah, my former organization there, they've now gone down the path of the James O'Keefe
Yeah.
gotcha journalism videos, selectively edited,
Yeah.
and very very questionable ethics.
Hey, is it true? I heard they hired the 60 Minutes editor for that edited the Westmoreland interview to work for AIM to do the same thing for you know.
Well, I
But
mean, look, James O'Keefe's looking for a job, probably, right?
yeah, there you go. Maybe Frank should be worried that his job may be in jeopardy.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
But
I'm still on the email list, and it's all about education and all these gotcha videos, and I'm like,
well,
they don't deserve
yeah.
any support for the
AIM
garbage.
used to be one of the major sponsors for CPAC. You got AIM. I remember when I was there, it was basically AIM, Young America's Foundation, and who was the third one? I think it was NRA was the third one.
Well, I mean, the thing had for years, the name, the people that were behind it was always a combination of like human events and
Yep, human
YAF and
events. Yeah,
National Review, that type of thing like that. And then everybody else of others could pay in to be
yeah.
sponsors, and they had a whole bunch of those, things.
Hmm.
and it was fine back then. I mean, at least it seemed to be grassroots. But I just think that it's just become a big business, and they just kind of, I think they've lost their way in a lot of cases. And but there are a lot of people that we all know, like Robin and others that are down there. I've seen some Facebook and Instagram posts from people that Potomac Republican Women's Club people and other people who are down there, and that's fine if you want to go down there and do it. That's fine, but um, I guess I'm just at the point now where I'm like,
Well,
doesn't
my
matter anymore.
problem with CPAC, I mean, I've got no issues with CPAC. I don't like the location. The Gaylord is a wonderful hotel, but I am driving halfway around the Beltway and driving through Prince George's County, where you got all these freaking construction zones all over the place, and people drive like it's a Grand Prix down there, because it's so much straighter on that side, because that's a newer portion of the Beltway, relatively speaking. And I'm thinking, like, what is this, And when you get down there, when you get in there, it's like not the most friendliest way to get to the hotel, because they got all these weird streets and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a
And
little town with a bunch of hotels populated around it and restaurants and things like
remember when
that.
that town was called Oxon Hill, Don? Nobody wanted to go there when it was called Oxon Hill.
Yeah, but yeah, I was in Annapolis yesterday, and driving down, I looked over across to the other loop, and I'm just like, oh, traffic was really backed up because they had closed down one lane because they were doing some kind of road work or something off to the
Yeah.
shoulder, right around where Route 450 is. And I thought, okay, well, I came back, 3 hours, 3.5 hours later, whatever it was, and I'm like,
Mhm.
it's still there. I mean, it's like, and
Yeah.
that was
Well,
like
I mean, I went to Goddard yesterday, and it was pretty bad. This is the first time in a while when I was at Goddard, and I left around 4-ish or 4:30-ish or whatever, and it was not too hairy jumping from the Parkway to the Beltway, because usually it's always kind of hairy right around there, and then it clears up after IKEA, because you get a lot of people going 95 north traffic. But yesterday was not so bad. But yeah, but on the other side, it was like basically a roadblock. It's like everyone just sitting in their cars on the other side, going
yeah. I
towards
mean, it's just like okay.
Andrews.
So I mean, we know we've been around here for a while, so we're used to some of the traffic. But I think there's a point where now in my life I'm like, I used to drive through a lot of this stuff, and I just got used to it. But now I find it
Yeah,
extremely annoying.
it
You
is annoying. We have too many people living here. I'm sorry.
know?
Go somewhere else. You don't need to come to Washington. It's not as don't believe the hype. It's not that great here. You
Yeah,
know.
people in California and Oregon and Washington are what they move into Idaho and
You know,
Utah and
I
Arizona and
wish they would not do that. I really wish they would not do that. I wish they'd just stay in their own hellhole states that they all created with their leftist policies. I mean, I was watching. There's a guy named Caleb Hammer on YouTube. He was interviewing a guy who he goes, I just have to get out of California. He goes, I don't like the politics. I don't like the traffic and the taxes and you know, he makes some very good points. He was. I mean, this is like a 20-something-year-old kid. He goes, he had about $80,000 saved up because he's been working and making good money, or well, it'd be good money anywhere else but LA. And he's talking about he can't even afford a down payment on a house with $80,000. $80,000 used to be a decent down payment on a home. You know. And the problem with California is it worth living in Orange County, for that matter? Orange County, the nicest of counties in all of California. It's better than even Marin County, where all the liberals live. Um,
yeah. I
it's
mean,
a lot better than.
the days of Orange County and the being represented by the likes of B1 Bob are long gone, right? I mean,
Yeah, Dana Rohrabacher.
and that's part of the thing. I mean, we definitely see lots of liberals that have moved to neighboring states and are changing the electoral map there. But we're all, I know plenty of my old conservative Republican friends in California that have, as they got older, they decided they're leaving California and they moved to Texas and other places.
Yep,
A lot of them wind up moving from a blue state to the red state.
yep.
We it strengthens states like Texas. They'll take everybody, particularly more Republicans. But the Republican Party in California continues to get sapped, I think, of that.
Yeah.
But thanks
Right, now
to the population dropping, they're going to continue probably to lose representatives in the
Yep.
House over time.
I can't wait to Florida becoming the second most populous state in the country. Their third population-wise. Did I say populous? Oh well.
No, I think
I don't know.
And as soon as you put it is Friday.
Yes. Well,
And,
the more people in Florida, the more stories you have, like Florida man or Florida woman.
Yeah.
Those are the. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of I remember vaguely remember when California was really Republican state, and it actually had a lot of good industry, and a lot of good businesses. But
yeah,
I've said before, I think what my biggest economic gripe with the Democratic Party is the fact that they tend to erode the tax base of the infrastructure. So, you build up something, whether it be houses or industry or whatever, and instead of taxing, the skim of the proceeds, like corporate profits, they go for the underlying stuff, like the property or things like that, and they start eroding, kind of like termites. They kind of work their way through the system until at some point it becomes just so rotten that there's really no value in it anymore. But I think they like doing that because it's more, I don't want to say consistent, but it's something they can count on regardless of who's living there or whatever. It's like you can always count on like property taxes and everything else. And so I don't know. It's just, I mean, I've seen it in California. We've seen it in New York, especially. New Jersey is give a shout out that as well. It's just places that actually had a lot of profit in businesses. People are just moving out of because it's become untenable to live there. It's nobody wants to live where they work now.
Yeah,
and also,
you mentioned New York. I mean, look at New York. I mean, versus like say Connecticut. Connecticut is also a very liberal state. But Governor Murphy, after that election scare where he almost lost his re-election bid, he's become a tax cutter. I mean, they had a surplus, and they're not going crazy, but they're all they're going to cut taxes in Connecticut. What is New York doing? They're increasing taxes. They want to increase taxes, right? It's like this is the wrong prescription, people. I realize that the economy is slowing down a lot, and there's all these big surpluses that were built up from huge tax revenues, the government, giving them, throwing money at them through the pandemic. Those days, are gone. But good government will have a good surplus rainy day fund to kind of mitigate that. Don't give it all back to the taxpayers or whatever. You got to have something because California is a case in point too. They started giving money to the people of California because they thought they had all this money, and now they're going to swing to a big deficit, and they're like, right? So they've got a problem, but they don't understand this. They don't understand economics.
This is how Democrats treat money, Don. It's a jar of candy, and they just toss it out by the handful. And then they realize, oh, we're all out of candy, and then what they do? They go to your house and get your jar of candy and start giving that one out. And that's pretty much Democrat policy for you, in a nutshell.
Yeah, I mean, or, look at the investment. What is it? What's the thing for the IRA Act?
Joe Biden wants to basically, doesn't he want to go after like our 401k savings and stuff like that? He was kind of raiding that too.
But I'm just saying that this massive bill that he touted that they spend all this stuff for green energy and infrastructure and all these kinds of things. The bottom line will be is that there's a lot of subsidies and a lot of things built in there that are going to cost every one of us more in taxes, one way or the other. I mean, it's a big boondoggle and a big giveaway. And stuff like that, but yeah, I mean, the Biden administration. I mean, they just, they're still struggling. I mean, this rebuke, like you just mentioned on this, ESG and the retirement stuff. As his Department of Labor promulgating a rule saying, these investment managers and people can take into consideration, whether or not investments are ESG proper, and thanks to the Senate, they and Manchin and Tester going with the Republicans, they beat that back, and they'll have to go back to, if Biden really wants it, they'll have to go back to Congress and get it passed by Congress again, which I just don't see happening.
Yeah, I mean, there's the problem with basically their eyes blink like cash registers when they see Americans who actually have savings or they're nothing more than, as Jerry Cave would say, an ATM for the federal government. They just go there and pull money out. That's their whole point. And
well, that's my point. Is that they tend to take money out of structural elements, whether like it's rainy day funds or if it's like the value in property or it's anything they can say.
The transportation fund,
in 10 years this will be profitable. So instead of waiting 10 years for it to be profitable, they take the money out now, saying that we expect in 10 years to be profitable, and then 10 years comes and it's not as profitable as they expect it to be. So now they're running at a deficit.
I'm surprised Joe Biden doesn't want to institute a national lottery or Keno. The way Maryland, when they had a budget shortfall in the 70s, they introduced the Maryland Lottery, which, by the way, is turning 50 this year, the Maryland Lottery. And then they had a budget shortfall in the 80s. They brought in Keno. They had another budget shortfall. They brought in slots and casino gambling. And as Harry Hughes said in his book, what's next? Prostitution or legalizing that so they can tax that, or is it going to be marijuana? And I guess the marijuana folks want out. But that's next. The next time we have a shortfall, that's the only thing left for the revenue stream they can pull into. And the Biden administration is just horrid. And I think they've done everything wrong. I tell you, I find it funny that Joe Biden, I believe, he signed, the bill that went through where D.C. Had a soft on crime bill that they passed, and then Congressional Review said, no, you're not going to do this, right? I just want to say, all you residents of D.C., all you Democrats out there who thought Joe Biden was going to give you state, Joe Biden doesn't care about you people. He doesn't want to give you statehood. He doesn't care. It's just a red herring they'll bring up every time there's a Republican president. D.C. statehood. You notice they haven't brought it up now. That in the first 2 years when he had both houses, he could have brought up statehood issues, but Joe Biden doesn't care about you people.
Biden has got so many Democrats mad at him for this thing, right? I mean, that's what I mean. But and you're right too about the statehood thing. I mean, the Democrats talk about they want statehood for D.C., but
that's only when there's a Republican president. Barack Obama didn't care, and he had a supermajority. He could have done that, and there's not one thing a Republican could have done to stop it. Bill Clinton never did that. Jimmy Carter didn't do it.
I think with that whole crime thing in D.C., I think this is where you start seeing the kind of the precursor to 2024 with the Senate election, where people are looking down the line and saying, like, we're up for re-election here not too long from now. Can we afford to support that? Because that's definitely, we support that D.C. bill, and we definitely are going to look like we're soft on crime.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't, and the crime has been a huge problem for the Democrats. This is something that has really hurt them, and the stance they've taken nationwide overall, on crime. Many Democrats have, they've lost their, politically elected jobs for their stance on crime, including Lori Lightfoot in Chicago.
Yes, Lori Lightfoot. She really delivers, as her commercial said. I thought it was funny that
she gave D.C. statehood and then let them, observe their Second Amendment rights and actually let, people in the state actually carry guns to defend themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, it actually changed the landscape a little bit,
Yeah, but I'll tell you this. I'm against D.C. statehood because that's not what the original intent of the Founding Fathers was. Also...
Well, they didn't intend people to live there like they do now. That was basically just be like the capital wasn't really designed to be
No,
what it is.
you still
But
had
it
people.
has evolved.
You still had people that lived in DC. I mean,
Yes, but there was supposed to be it was supposed to be the political capital for
yeah,
people that that needed to
yeah.
be
And
there for
something.
politics. It
And
wasn't
my,
designed to
my
be
point
like
is
a
this:
city.
I'm all for taking DC, right, and taking like Northwest, take everything up to K Street, the zoo, give that to Montgomery County, and everything else can go to PG County. Southeast and all that can go to PG County, and they'd be able to vote in Maryland elections all day long. They don't, it's not like they disagree with Wes Moore or Ben Cardin or Jamie Raskin or whoever which should pick the Democrat that would be representing those areas, Steny Hoyer, But see, the bottom line is nobody wants to give them statehood, and I don't think they should be a county. I know there's this talk about making them Douglas County. No, they're not going to be Douglas County. They'll be part Montgomery County, and they can be part of PG County. There's no reason for them to be in their own county, frankly. And we can give them their own congressperson if they want. You could draw them, give them parts of PG County, and actually, we could actually give them all of Montgomery County, which makes the 6th district so much better for us. For for us to.
If you think Maryland's a blue state now, you take over the district, it'll be a real blue state.
It would be. But here's the thing: it's a blue state, and I'm thinking we could, it would be a bluer state. I mean, it'd be it'd be one of the bluest states in the country. It would be bluer than California at that point, I think. But it's kind of like my policy.
It's something I haven't really thought too deeply about, but to me, just thinking about it now, I think I don't know. I mean, having the nation's capital with Congress as part of Maryland, while we also have our state capital and our Maryland government working. I don't know. It almost it does kind of make sense to have the district be a separate entity. I don't want it as a state. I think they're better managed now than they were under Marion Barry and some other mayors.
I say, if it's not broken, why are we trying to fix this problem? It's not By the way, the echo just came back, Jeff.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. I was going to say it's not like it's broken per se. It's just that it's evolved. I think that when DC was founded, it was founded, for certain, practical needs. They needed a place for the capital. They needed a place for people to, to reside when they're in office. But it wasn't really designed for people to just live just because. So if it was just representatives that lived there, I'm fine with DC, the way it is. But it's changed. I mean, we have businesses there and people who live there that really aren't in politics per se. So that changes the dynamics of it. So I don't know. It's just in a weird place. It's almost like, in a sense, almost like Puerto Rico and the other, territories. I mean, they're not states. They are part of the U.S., but they don't really have voting rights, and they have other issues that we can't ever really work out because they're not states. So what do we do with them? Do you just continue to sweep them under the carpet?
They get to vote for the mayor. When they stop these silliness about letting illegals vote in their elections, maybe then we'll talk about statehood. But when they're so irresponsible, I mean, this crime bill, soft on crime bill that the council pushed through, overrid Mayor Bowser's veto. When they've got politicians like that, I'm sorry, no, I don't want to give people like you statehood, frankly, that are utterly reckless.
Well,
again, they only want statehood because there's only one reason they want statehood. It's to impose a commuter tax on people in Maryland and Virginia. And frankly, they've already done that with those stupid speed cameras they have. They got this one camera on K Street that you're going down the hill. There is no way, unless you ride your brakes, that you're staying under 25 miles an hour. So I'm supposed to ride my brakes and wear out my brakes early because the District of Columbia wants to slap me with a $50 camera ticket there. So it's just, utter corruption and ethical challenges in the district government is the reason why they never should have statehood, frankly. I'm all for bringing back the control board, frankly.
That's the same reason they should have statehood, because, again, if they should
get rid of home rule for them too, frankly.
Part of Maryland, or if they were their own state, they would have their own state constitution. They would have their own, rule of law. Right now, it's just, like I said, it's this weird place where they have a mayor, but they don't have their own state constitution. technically it's under federal, jurisdiction, but the federal courts really aren't equipped to deal with the local issues there. So it's like I said, it's just a weird place. I'm not saying that's the answer. I'm just saying that I can see there are reasons for statehood that aren't even really along party lines. It's just it would make things more consistent.
Yeah, I think the history is that Maryland and Virginia, they provided the land, right?
Virginia took theirs back. It's called Arlington,
and it is a district. Basically, it's a district established to house the nation's capital. So it was established. It was not set up as a state. It was set up as a district to house the nation's capital, and that's what I believe the Constitution calls for, or whatever. At this point in time, that's how they established that. There's nothing there that says they could become a state or they couldn't become a state, but it's clear from the founding fathers that the idea was that this is supposed to be almost like a special entity, a special zone for the nation's capital, and the states are the states, and they have their own operation. So, it's kind of a weird place, but we've lived like this since, what was it, 1790 or something like that?
Yeah, look, it's not broken. It's not broken. Let's leave it alone.
But again, things have progressed. You could say the same thing about New York wasn't always this bad, and Chicago wasn't always this bad, and DC wasn't always this bad. But have they really gotten any better? Has crime in those areas gotten better? Has it gotten worse?
There was the golden age of DC after Marion Barry left, and you had Anthony Brown all the way to Adrian Fenty. DC was seeing low crime. You had people moving in, and one of these reform mayors who basically thought outside of the Democrat prism and tried Republican policies in their cities. They get scorned. They get called. Adrian Fenty was accused of gentrifying the city. They did that about Mayor Williams. They tried everything they could to get rid of Mayor Williams, and it didn't work for them, frankly, because he put to shame the establishment. Was all about Marion Barry, to shame basically Marion Barry's, his signature jobs program, which is basically like a boondoggle for creating patronage for Marion Barry. Because you'll find people that are like various roles in management all over DC now that all got their start in the 70s DC Marion Barry's jobs program. I'm not saying the jobs program.
You mentioned Fenty and Williams, and those guys. They kind of came with a little bit more of a business background and some other things. They did it. I think they did a credible job.
Yeah, look at Gray Davis. Gray Davis was not Gray Davis. He was a horrible governor too. But what's the guy named Mayor Gray? I forget his guy's first name.
Bill Gray. I think it was William Gray.
Yeah, William Gray. Horrible mayor. He was about process. Nothing got done. Muriel Brett Bowser is, I think, is a medium between Adrian Fenty's business sense and the process. She's not as bad as Gray, but she's no Adrian Fenty.
What about Sharon Pratt Kelly? Sharon Pratt Kelly was it?
Oh yeah, Sharon Pratt Kelly. Sharon Pratt Dixon. Remember, she was Sharon Pratt Dixon when she forgot. And I really was shocked that she won that primary. I figured he was going to go to what's her name? What's his name? Charlene Jarvis. Her father was the renowned heart surgeon.
Is that Charlene Drew Jarvis or something like that?
Yeah, Dr. Charles Drew's daughter. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's interesting.
And John Ray was the other one. John Ray, he was backed by John Heckinger. Because there was talk John Heckinger was going to run for mayor of DC at one point too, but he opted to back John Gray in that election. And Sharon Pratt Kelly, she came in to clean house, and let me tell you, Mayor Barry must have had enough people in place that basically kind of sunk her. He was elected mayor after her because she was a dismal disaster. You had people were talking about how her response to snow was horrible.
Yeah, sometimes people wind up getting in over their head. They don't realize.
Marion Barry had a horrible snow response, but then again, he was at the Super Bowl watching the Redskins.
You said snow response.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know,
Sorry,
he was
it's
doing
a bad
important things.
reference.
He was out with the Redskins, you know, back, you know. But yeah, so oh, sound's gone. You can't hear us, Susan.
We
I
can
think
hear you.
audio's fine.
That's
No,
weird.
she says sound's gone. That's why.
Hmm.
Oh, the echo sound is gone. That's what she's saying.
Oh,
Maybe
that's
that's
what.
what.
Yeah, I put my
Yeah,
headphones on, so
yeah.
I figured it was something with my mic, so I went ahead and just put my headphones in. So
Yeah, I know. I haven't seen that for how many years?
Rich.
yes, that was classic, classic man gang.
And I tell you, but I tell you, we're
Yeah, we've
getting
hit,
close to.
we've hit the top of the hour here already.
Yeah, one last.
Has it
Okay,
been?
so we're at
We didn't
final
talk about Shamrock Shakes this time
thoughts.
yet.
What's that?
So we didn't even talk about Shamrock Shakes yet.
No, we did not. But wait, you only have two. There's only about a few more days. You know, there's about uh, 14 more days. You can get Shamrock Shakes. Get them while you can before they're gone. They'll be gone for a whole year, and they won't be
I've
back.
had 2 Shamrock McFlurries. I have to go and get some more.
Yeah, I mean, I know yesterday. Actually, it's funny when I was over at Goddard, somebody did a Shamrock Shake run. They come around. They go. I was like, "Oh yes, I'd love a Shamrock Shake." You know. And it's like, who do you think? I'm the one that has the
So that was
countdown
like
going for the.
when I lived in North Carolina. I was part of the Nog Run Club in Raleigh, and the one of the courses went by a Krispy Kreme donut.
Mm-hmm.
So it was almost inevitable that like half the runners would stop and get a fresh Krispy Kreme donut in the
Yeah.
middle of their run. So I'm all for businesses encouraging runners. It just kind of seems funny, like you're trying to like get in shape, and then they're offering like free donuts.
Mm-hmm. Well, is that what's that gym? Planet Fitness. They got pizza
Yeah.
day. They got bagel days.
What?
Yeah.
When do they do that? I haven't seen
I
that.
don't know. I was watching on YouTube, and they had this thing how, how they're really counterproductive because they want people, people feel they spent 30 minutes on a gym feels they can scarf down as many bagels as they want and so on. They do bagels in
Yeah,
the
no,
morning. I mean, I don't go to Planet Fitness though, but
yeah. I mean, I do, but the Planet Fitness I'm at is right next to the Grand Buffet. It's in Laurel, so it's like an
yeah,
all-you-can-eat buffet
it's
right
where the
next
old
to the Planet
yeah, it's
Fitness.
where the old W Bell used to be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in White Oak, yeah, the W Bell. Remember that store, the W Bell?
No, I
Yes.
W
don't remember that,
Bell.
unfortunately.
Yeah, I think there was
I mean, that was like your time. I mean,
W Bell, Best, and Evans Distributors and Jewelers.
they used to have those the hyperloops for sitting things around in that we were talking about last week.
Yeah,
The pneumatic tubes, yeah.
pneumatic
Yes.
tubes.
There was somebody. There was somebody that did a store on that. I read it online. It was like after we talked about it last week. I go, oh, interesting, because they were saying how that's there are some people that want to bring that stuff back for communication, office communications.
I love
Because
those
what
things.
email's not a thing anymore. But anyway,
Just
final thoughts.
yeah.
Rich, you did not
Okay,
like
well,
the Shamrock Shake? They're really good.
okay. I have a quick final thought. So I'm
Okay.
I'm so into pneumatic tubes that I think we should adopt like the Futurama and have like people movers like pneumatic tubes. Forget the hyperloop. Just go straight to like moving people in
The
pneumatic
Jetsons
tubes.
had that, didn't they? The Jetsons had that too, right?
Yeah, they had that.
George. Yeah. Oh wow! So yeah, that's. Anyways, is that it? Just have one thought. No other thoughts.
I don't know.
Hey, so when
We're
is
getting news out here,
so Jeff? When is
let
Mamma
me ask you this:
Mia?
besides the echoing stuff, does the setup look like better, different?
I see. Cool.
You look like you're in some kind of studio of some sort, right?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I got some lights, on the sides here to try to, give it, because I don't really have other than just the room lights, so I wanted to try to, get some
Yeah.
additional stuff there. But you say about Mamma Mia?
Yeah. How's that? When is that coming up? When's that show? I saw the
It is. It's this
signs.
weekend, right?
Okay.
So yeah, it's Reservoir High. They're doing the rendition of musical Mamma Mia, based upon obviously the ABBA songs, and my nephew Corey Dockendorf is one of the lead
Very good.
players, / singers in that. So tonight already sold out. So usually they don't sell it until Saturday night. So the fact they sold it on a Friday night is kind of indication that this is going to be a real popular show. So,
Yeah.
um,
And
so
I
yeah,
know
I'm excited to see it.
it must be costing the school a lot of money because they got to pay for the rights for that sort of
No,
stuff.
no, no. These. I mean, yeah, it does cost us the school some money in terms of licensing, but they more than make up for that with the
Oh, do they?
tickets. I mean, they don't charge.
I remember
It's like
I remember Mr. Mather used to
not
always.
expensive tickets. They may be like 20, not even $20. I think they're like, I don't know, something around $20. Not, it's not expensive, but the quality. I mean, usually you wouldn't like pay to go to like a high school, performance, but I don't know what it is. But I mean, Reservoir High has like this. It's like a magnet for theater. They have some of the best theater performances I've seen. I mean, they've done Wizard of Oz. They've done. They just finished doing Little Mermaid, where my other nephew was in there. They, so many plays have done that have just been stellar performances, and I'm not saying because I've got family in there. I mean, these are really good, professionally like choreographed, music. I mean, they sometimes have guest conductors come in. It's really amazing the quality.
Yeah.
Did you know the Swedish much of visiting Russian?
Yeah.
Oh. That's funny.
Yeah,
that is funny.
My local high school is doing first ever production of Mean Girls.
Interesting.
Which is interesting because it's a little bit, it's not. I think that they label that as PG-13, which is unusual for high school productions to go beyond a kind of a more G-rated level kind of a performance to make it very family friendly. So I'm curious as to how that's going to work out, but I don't know.
I heard at Blair High School they were going to do Hair in 1986, but there was such an outcry and protest of Hair, so they switched Hair and they did Annie instead. And I'm like, I'm shocked that. But then that just shows you how much Montgomery County has changed in the last 30, 40 years. That people were today. They probably say Hair is too conservative, right wing. Probably that'd be the problem today for them. But anyways, any other final thoughts, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, 1,000 little things, but I know we always tend to go wax eloquent when final thoughts.
Yeah,
but,
extra innings. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just I don't have anything in particular other than the fact that I think we kind of mentioned before the show about me going down to the not Calvert County. Shoot, I totally lost the name of it. Charles County, thank you. The Charles County Lincoln Day dinner. That was really good. We had, and again, my mind does not work.
Alan West was the speaker. Yes.
Yeah, we had Colonel Alan West as a speaker. He was an amazing speaker. Very, very cordial man. He spent the entire, evening after after he talked, just conversing with people. He didn't like skedaddle. He was approachable. He was very friendly. Just an amazing gentleman. So I just was pleased to meet him, and kindest man you'd ever meet. It's just amazing individual. So again, just want to do a shout out to everyone down there who put in the event. A really good event, and they had a lot more people there.
James and company did a great job. James Ashburn,
yeah. So I know he was kind of stressing out because so many things were going a little bit sideways, and traffic was worse than usual going down there. So a lot of people were late, and me being the photographer, even I was late. I was trying to be there by 6, and I ended up getting there by 6:30. So it's like we already had the VIP stuff going on when I got down there. But I was glad to do photos for that, and everyone there was just an amazing, great performance and great event. So I'd rather go to those than CPAC anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, CPAC they used to do 2 dinners. Now they only do 1 dinner, the Reagan dinner, just tonight. And the dinners are a lot of fun. Larry O'Connor. Last time I was there, Larry O'Connor was their MC, and he does a great job. And Brian Kilmeade was their keynote. And Brian Kilmeade gave. I mean, he was talking about his book, it was the Washington and his spies. I forget the name of the book, but it's about George Washington and the spies that helped win the Revolutionary War. But it was good. It was good. You know. Final thoughts,
Anyway,
Donner on it.
that's
Oh, go
yeah.
ahead. Yeah,
No, I was gonna say that's it. So
Don.
Okay. Few things here. Liz Cheney's got a new job. She's got a new gig at the University of Virginia. She's with the Center for Politics and whatever they all are called down there. So, looking at the press release, I thought it's like, strong conservative, who
Oh,
sacrificed so much and things like this. And it's like, great, here's the big anti-Trump, big leading critic of Donald Trump, lost
yeah.
her House seat in the primary in a landslide,
Yep.
and she's going to get a voice at UVA to talk to students, to teach students about democracy. Right? This is part of the thing. It's like, and she was the vice chair of the House committee. On January 6th, this was nothing but a I'm not a big Trump rah guy, but there was a big witch hunt. It's kind of, to me, it's like shame on UVA for giving her this platform to do this. And she's on record of saying that she'll do whatever it takes to make sure that Trump doesn't become the nominee in 24. And if he does, she'll leave the party. So, we kind of know where she stands.
She voted 90% of the time with President Trump. She was, it's just,
she could have held that seat in Wyoming forever had she.
Yeah, I think it was. I think January 6th is what really set her off. I think that's what really. That's when she.
And look what happened. Look what happened to all those congressmen, people who went against Trump on January 6th in terms of, berating him. That they either lost their reelection campaigns or they decide not to run again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So. Yes, Comey. He still may be down there. It's interesting to see how. Comey. Yeah, you have to kind of wonder that guy wound up being ethically challenged, to say the least.
Well, Spiro Agnew taught a course on campaign finance reform after he left the vice presidency at the University of Baltimore Law School, from what I understand.
This is how you do it. Don't get caught.
It's like, I know it's like a burglar teaching home security. It's like
Right? Yeah.
Well, I tell you, today I was having a little bit of fun with Chat GPT, and you guys remember that show Benson, right? I asked it to write a sitcom, but instead of Governor Gatlin, it's Governor Spiro Agnew, and it's like went through it. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Created a lot.
I would have figured it would have done like the obvious Governor Hogan's heroes.
Yeah. I tell you, there was another show that I used actually for Larry Hogan theme song when he ran in 2040. It's called Hello, Larry. It was that guy Don McLean. Is it Don McLean or the guy from MASH who the helicopter blew up? The North Korean shot down his helicopter when he was going back. Was that Don McLean? Was that his name? He was before Colonel Potter. McLean Stevens, that's the guy's name. Yeah, we did. Correct. We did.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah, McLean Stevenson. Yeah, that's the guy. And it's funny. So he left MASH to go do Hello, Larry, which was a Stevenson. There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rich. And he left to go do that. But anyways, yeah. So he was. Hello, Larry had a kind of nice little hip. Theme song, and I kind of used that for Larry Hogan when we did an intro video for him at one of our county conventions. So, anyways, back to you, Don.
Okay. Oh, wait, you didn't finish your Chat GPT story, though.
Oh, yeah. So, basically, I was like, just creating stuff. I created, like, scripts. I said, write episode 1, episode 2. I threw in some of our friends in there, like Garrett Zahner. Corinne Frank became the education secretary in the Agnew administration. And then there was, just for fun, I said, one day at the governor's mansion, they found a grocery bag full of cash. Everybody wondered who left a bag of money for the governor. And I had when President Nixon comes to Annapolis. I had Spiro Agnew going to France, and Chuck de Gaulle is the prime minister, and he asks Chuck de Gaulle for ketchup and de Gaulle is all upset about it and stuff like that. It actually did a decent job, But I tell you, ChatGPT is very liberal. I asked it because we were joking how Curran becomes president in 2024. And one of the things I told ChatGPT to write about how Corinne Frank fired all the everybody that works over at Department of Education, and I get a response back from Chat. I cannot write something about this. It is basically it is not right to you can't bust up unions, and I'm like I'm just asking you to write something. So these AIs are very left leaning and woke. So Don, back to you. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No problem. I do want to mention, Mike Pompeo gave a speech at CPAC. I know Craig was asking if we talked about CPAC, and we did kind of earlier, but I thought it was interesting. Maybe Pompeo is laying groundwork for his own 2024 bid, to test the waters as he really kind of, blasted.
We do need a good foreign policy president. I mean,
well, and I do like. I think Pompeo was is a good guy and everything like that, and I will give him credit for criticizing Trump and other Republicans for increasing the national debt. This is something that I had bothered me during Trump's term, was just that it's just Trump and the Republicans in office seemed to turn a blind eye. They spent a lot of time during the Obama years about talking about the increase in the debt during Obama years, and then they went just radio silent basically during the Trump years as spending ramped up and things like that. Now towards the end of Trump's term, with the pandemic and things like that, there was some necessary spending that I that definitely increased the debt, and I'm not gonna blame it for that, because any president probably would have been facing the same challenges and probably would have done something similar. But Republicans, at least under Trump, they lost their way with their being the deficit hawks, being being people who are responsible, fiscally conservative, and things like that. They seem now to have tried to found religion again, trying to hold the Biden administration's feet to the fire a little bit. But this is an ongoing issue in this country. I think it's just that I don't see where anybody's really going to be effectively able to to work on the national debt, and I'm not sure that we have enough people get elected to be serious enough to actually cut the deficit. We talked about state budgets and deficits versus getting some tax cuts and things like that. But most states are under their own constitutional mandate to try to balance their budget. We don't have that we don't have that for the U.S. government, and so it's reckless spending with pork barrel this and that, earmarks. All these politicians, some of them, they just talk a good game, and it's really disappointing, because at some point, the piper is going to have to be paid here. I mean, how much longer can we go on, just spending this money? We're at what, over $30 trillion, 31, 32 trillion in debt or something like that now. This is horrific. I mean, it was what, 15 or 16 under Obama. I don't know what it ended under Obama, but it's ridiculous how much we've grown this debt, over the last 10, 15 years. It's criminal. And I'm not going to be around to face that, piper, but my children or my grandchildren probably will see the repercussions of this business that we've had for the last 10, 20 years or whatever. And there's just nothing on the horizon I see that's going to resolve that whatsoever. So
it's a good point, because I mean, it's say what you will about climate change being a thing. I mean, the inflation and the national debt is a thing. People just don't want to own up to it. I mean, I think instead of having a balanced budget amendment, we should actually have a surplus where we say, okay, we have a plan to actually reduce the debt. But I mean, I don't know the last time I looked at. It's been a couple of years since I looked at the OMB's report on taxes. But last time I checked, it was like a third of the tax revenue was paying the interest on the national debt. So of all the money we bring in taxes, literally a third of that is just paying the interest. Imagine like a credit card. Like you've got a $10,000 credit card, and you're every month you're not paying it down, you're just paying the interest on the card.
Yes, and then
every year the company gives you like more credit. It's like, well, you're paying this, so like next year we're going to increase your credit limit by another $1,000. And all you end up doing is you're just literally paying, the interest. And you've seen on your credit card statements, it says like, if you only pay the minimum balance, it'll take you like 150 years to pay off your credit card. And so, it's like, why don't we do the same thing with that budget? Like it's $30 trillion. Who can pay that off? I mean, if all the billionaires and trillionaires together could pay it off, obviously our GDP is still higher, but we have to have a plan for this because, like you said, it's a ticking time bomb.
It's kind of
and you mentioned inflation just now. The thing is that, for a long time, money has been cheap. Borrowing money has been cheap on a government basis. Low interest rates. That is not the case these days anymore. So that is putting even more pressure on our debt because now money it's cost a lot more to finance all of this, and so now the debt speeds up because these interest payments are skyrocketing. This is it's out of control. It is.
It's like the FICO score. It's like I think the government used to have a AAA rating for its for lending, and now it's gone to AA or something, which I don't know what that means in terms of actual rates. But it's the same thing as like for consumer speak. It's like having a FICO score that you start off with like a 850, just immaculate because you make so much money, and what you spend is a fraction of it. But then you max out all your credit cards, and then suddenly you're like, well, I'm still making a lot of money, but now I don't have a whole lot to pay off. So if something unfortunate happens and I lose my job, then what then? If the U.S. government really has an economic downturn or something, what are our resources? We are highly dependent upon our GDP, and if there was something where God forbid we had another Great Depression or something, we would our whole infrastructure would just crumble. There's nothing stealing up our resources.
Yeah. That's true.
It's your final thoughts, Solon.
No, that's it. I'll turn it over to Dwight now.
Okay, a couple things. One very important final thought. Our friend Corinne Frank has a conference coming up on March 11th. It's next Saturday. Wow, that comes by so fast. The keynote speaker is Governor Orlick, as well as Delegate Brenda Cham and a number of other notables. Go to mapsboe.com/CELC and get your tickets today. Tickets are like a low price of, I think they're only like, Corinne, if you're watching, let me know what the low prices are, but I think it's like really, really low. I want to say they're like around maybe $100, the tickets for it. So go to, mapsboe.com and learn all about the conference. Also, other final thoughts. I just want to say Cozy TV turns 10 years this year, and they do these little shorts, which is hilarious. Here, let me share one with you.
Is it Cozy TV?
Cozy TV, yep. COZI TV. It is 10 years old.
I've never heard of that.
Oh yeah, here it is. It's one of those. Here. This is hilarious.
To celebrate our 10th anniversary, we present 10-Year-Old Cozy TV.
Hello, and welcome to 10-Year-Old Cozy TV and our performance of The Nanny. This scene is from the conclusion of the very first episode.
Fran has been fired, but Mr. Sheffield is having second thoughts. He goes to visit her mother's apartment in Queens. Would she be rehired?
Stay tuned.
These are so funny, these clips, they're very accurate.
Fran, you need a Malamar?
No, Ma, food's not the answer to everything.
Meanwhile, your father and I based our entire relationship around food. Passion goes, communication we never had. But food is forever.
Okay.
Morty, you want another Malamar? Morty!
Ma, Daddy can't hear you. He's watching the game. Why can't I find a guy like him? Deaf and on a pension.
It's hilarious. They've also done one with Columbo, which I thought was like really... They've done it with all of their shows. They did Columbo. They did all the other shows. That's the only other show I seem to remember they did. But yeah, it's
So
really
help
good.
me out here. So what is Cozy? I don't. I'm not. I've never
It's okay.
watched
It's
it before.
it's basically owned by NBC4. It's back when we switched over to digital TV. Like you've got Cozy, you got Me TV, you got Rewind TV, you got Antenna TV, and they're like retro channels. They'll show a lot of the older shows. Like Cozy actually shows a lot of shows from the '90s. Just like Rewind does a lot from the '80s and '90s, while Antenna and Me TV are more '60s, '70s, early '80s. They got a lot of. They do a lot of the old I Dream of Jeannie reruns and Bewitched reruns, and they don't rerun I Love Lucy, but they do. Actually, Cozy TV used to have Here's Lucy on there, which is
Do
also
you,
another.
so do you know what I found out? Is that I Love Lucy. And I don't the star for that helped the Star Trek the series.
Lucille
You know,
Ball,
because,
yes.
yeah, she actually
Yes.
helped out. She has her enterprise to help fund and keep that series afloat when a lot of people didn't get it back in the day.
Yeah.
So
Desi,
all you Trekkies out
Desi
there,
Studios, yeah.
yeah,
Desi
just
Studios.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Bad with names, but that's it. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, all the Trekkies should be going to Jamestown, New York, to the I Love Lucy Museum to thank her for introducing the world to Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock and
Yep.
Dr. McCoy. Other final thoughts this week. We've got, it's just want to let all my liberal friends know it's been about 4 weeks now. Joe Biden is yet to go to East Palestine. Uh, I remember
I think it's
back
Palestine. Palestine.
Palestine.
It's like Bernstein.
Exactly. Remember Mr. Applestein? No, Applestein. And he goes,
Applestein.
if you would call him Applestein, he goes, is it Einstein or Einstein? It's like he was.
It's Einstein.
But anyways,
Where are we going down this rabbit hole? All right.
anyways,
Yeah, fine.
Joe Biden has yet to go there. When is NBC News going to go there and interview these poor families like they did after Katrina? My favorite one was this woman. Okay, we know Katrina came on a Sunday, and they're interviewing this woman. She goes, "I had nothing to eat on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it was like Wednesday after Katrina." And I'm thinking, Katrina didn't hit until Saturday night, Sunday morning. What was your problem on Thursday and Friday that you couldn't find food? And it's like, the hypocrisy of the media, where nobody wants to talk about all the blatant hypocrisy right now. I mean, I was watching The Five and somebody goes, "Whoa, Donald Trump never went to the Pulse nightclub. Donald Trump never went to someplace in Texas, whatever." And I'm thinking Donald Trump's not the president anymore. These people, they seem to, like Pete Buttigieg blamed Donald Trump for the train derailment. Pete Buttigieg is now blaming Donald Trump for the chemical smells and all that. Pete Buttigieg, do your job. By the way, did you guys all catch how the Daily Caller reporter, and he goes, "Oh, this is my personal time. Call my office to make an appointment." It's like, you are a cabinet secretary. For crying out, you're on the call 24/7. Why doesn't he lead by example? The Greek railroad accident that happened this past week, very tragic. Two trains head-on collision, and their railroad minister, I think it was the railroad minister, he resigned. Why doesn't Pete take a lesson from that and resign as transportation secretary? But I just fear how much worse the next guy would be than Mayor Pete, frankly. I know you say it can't get any worse, but give this administration a chance. I mean, they went from Peppermint Patty to what's her name? What's her name? I don't want to call her cringe, but you know what I'm talking about. The press secretary, I forget her name. It slips my mind.
Oh, you mean Karine Jean-Pierre?
Yeah, Karine Jean-Pierre.
KJP.
Yeah, KJP. And but she makes Little Peppermint Patty seem like a rock star as a press secretary.
She's getting her own show on MSNBC.
Yeah, I know. Did she get is she in that Rachel Madcow time slot now? Is she?
I think this should be a weekend thing.
Yeah, is that one? Oh, that's it. Yeah. But yeah. So, anyways, that's it for my final thoughts. And everyone at CPAC, enjoy yourselves. Stay safe, so to speak. You are in Prince George's County. Remember that. I know it doesn't look like you're in Prince George's County. You're in Prince George's County, so just stay safe. Because I mean, there. I mean, there's a Shell station near Goddard that somebody was carjacked there. It's like you got to remember, you got to keep in mind that you are in Prince George's County sometimes. But anyways, with that, we'll see everyone next week. Take care. Oh, we got a chat message. Is that something new or?
Kellyanne Conway announced her divorce from George Conway.
No, I do not know. I didn't realize there was something happening there.
There have been rumors about that, but I don't know.
Yeah. See ya, and good night, everyone.